Welcome back. You are watching Global Eye. Let's now shift our focus to another European nation, Italy, that would be going to polls on Sunday as it elects a new government. It's 71st in 77 years of post-World War II history. And the polls are anything to go by. There could be a tectonic shift in Italian politics. Brothers of Italy, a far-right party, is expected to emerge the largest party, catapulting its leader, Giorgia Meloni, to the top post. The 45-year-old Meloni, known for her ultra-conservative views, would become the first female prime minister in Italy's history. She would also become the first far-right leader to lead the country since 1922, since the time of dictator Benito Mussolini. And to take this forward, we're now joined by David Broder, author of Mussolini's Grandchildren, Fascism in Contemporary Italy. Mr. Broder, thank you very much for joining us here on Global Eye on CNBC TV 18. Tell us about this shift in Italian politics and the rise of Giorgia Meloni. What does this say about the mood of the electorate?
Well, we've seen the far right become an increasingly important part of Italian politics in the last 30 years. Some of your viewers may know Silvio Berlusconi, who was the centre-right leader who came to power in the 1990s, and he brought former fascists into his government, into the coalition for the first time. But what's different this time is that the far right, Giorgia Meloni's party, is going to be the biggest party. And it's doing so on a programme of low taxes, but also drastically cutting immigration. It's a party rooted in fascism. It was created by admirers of Mussolini after 1945, after his overthrow and death. And in ways, it's moderated its policy and its tone, but it's very much a party created by people in that tradition. So in that sense, it is a sharp shift to the right for Italy.
Right. How would her view and approach be to the European Union? She has also said the European Union has been complicit about ethnic replacement. There was also a headline in The Economist which said, how afraid should Europe be of Giorgia Meloni? What does this really mean for Italy's ties with the European Union and also with the world?
Well, until a few years ago, Giorgia Meloni did propose that Italy should leave the Eurozone, abandon the single currency. She's often spoken in very critical terms of the leadership of the European Union, saying it was a Soviet-style bureaucracy. As you rightly say, she said that it was planning the ethnic replacement of white Europeans by Africans and Muslims, and adopted this very conspiracy theorist attitude. Recently, she's changed that a lot and very much emphasized her loyalty to the European Union, to NATO, saying in Europe she wants to change the immigration policy, but not to leave, not to split. And also she's committed a lot to arms supplies for Ukraine and support for the Ukrainian side rather than the Russian. So these are ways in which she's tried to mainstream her image. But also there's big contradictions. So in Europe, she's mainly allied to governments like Viktor Orban in Hungary and Law and Justice, the ruling party in Poland, who basically want to turn Europe away from accepting immigrants, who want to reject abortion, who want to push back against gay rights and against this kind of civil liberties. So I'd expect that she'll change the sort of civil liberties agenda in Europe a lot, but without actually seeking to leave the European Union or anything like that. Of course, the question is how her government would hold on faced with the growing energy crisis.
Right. And give us a sense of the economic mood in Italy, which may have given rise to her popularity and some of her economic priorities, some of her promises, which may be clicking with the voters in Italy.
Well, she's leading a right-wing coalition, also including Silvio Berlusconi's party and the Lega, another hard-right party. And their big message is heavy tax cuts. Italy now has progressive taxation, so the less you earn, the less percentage you pay. And they want to replace that with a flat tax. So they want to radically reduce overall taxation. And they say that they're going to continue with the policy pursued by the outgoing government of Mario Draghi with respect to European recovery funds, after the pandemic, the new investment. But also they want to do things like cut back on spending on the environmental transition. And they also call for a so-called tax peace, which really means less tax inspections, so which is appealing to small businesses. But I think that the problem they face is that, while Meloni is making a big deal about her free market positions, lower tax and so on, because there's such a strong crisis of energy prices and inflation in Europe, I think we could very quickly go into terrain where she'll need to follow a much more interventionist policy. Italy has had more than 20 years of economic stagnation, falling wages. And so, although, of course, the right-wing coalition is the strongest, we're also seeing a strong movement in favor of parties who want to boost income support for Italians. And so I think that's also a contradiction in the election we're seeing now.
All right, David, thank you so much for joining us here on Global Eye, putting the Italian election in context for our viewers and the rise of Giorgia Meloni as well.